I'm Greg Greenberg, coming to you from the NASDAQ market site in Times Square, and welcome to the Business Rockstars Co-Founders Lab weekly interview series. Today's interview is with six-time NFL Pro Bowler and founder and CEO of Prototype 81, Terrell Owens. He's going to be talking about establishing your brand and building yourself. He's also going to be talking about building a business and how it's not for everyone. And then finally, how you should have a hands-on approach to every aspect of your business. Now, let's head up to the Business Rockstar studio in Los Angeles and our host, Pat O'Brien.
My guest today is an old friend, Terrell Owens. Hey, T.O., how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You're always looking good.
Thank you. That's
You know, you're lucky. He got out of football with a bunch of major records and going in the Hall of Fame as well.
Hopefully.
And you can walk and move your arms, and seems like you're thinking straight.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So you got lucky. Do you miss football?
I do. I miss the competition, and that's always has been my passion and my drive is really my competitive edge. And now that I'm not doing that, I'm trying to create some other endorphins.
But you watch, right?
Yeah, I do from time to time. I'm
Yeah.
more of a basketball fan than anything.
Me too.
Yeah, I love basketball.
Basketball is fun. So, T.O., you're starting a clothing company, which is kind of makes sense, right? Because athletes, you're not abnormally big, but athletes are bigger guys.
Absolutely.
And you're going to start a company where your fellow athletes can buy clothes that actually fit.
Yeah, and not just athletes, but those that aspire
Right.
to be athletes. And again, I've been able to do a lot with my career, build a brand, and as you were alluding to, it makes sense considering, I feel like I'm one of the best at what I did on the football field. I dress well. I think it kind of started at a younger age when my mom, she made us clothes when we were younger. So it's always, I think, been in my DNA. So I always kind of been fashion forward. I always liked to dress well, got into fashion, and when I started to make money and then had to get some suits made, I got really involved, really engulfed with my tailor and really picking everything out from the fabrics to the ties, pocket squares, everything of the sort. And so now, where fitness is, where the business of fashion is, it made perfect sense.
Perfect sense. And you're one of the athletes that I covered that could do it all on the field and more, and showed up dressed nicely, and you always look like all together. And I think that's important in sports now, don't you? Because you see a guy in the field, there's not much you can do with that uniform.
Absolutely. I think when you especially football, we wear helmets. If you're not out there scoring touchdowns left and right, and if you're not, the golden boy, star quarterback, and getting all the headlines, you're not really recognized. So for me, one of the things that I feel like I could control is how I dressed and how I made an impression upon the people that I surrounded myself with. So, obviously being involved with Prototype 81, I feel like I can offer something that I can relate to, understanding where fashion is now, where the industry is, and really offering something that, from my clothing line that is reflective upon my career, the things that I've been involved with and how my clothing...
Bold.
Exactly.
Get your popcorn ready.
Exactly. It's going to be reflective of my career. It's going to be vibrant, flamboyant in a sense, and as you said, bold.
Yeah. Not all athletes can do this. I mean, I can name maybe 5 that actually look great on the field and look at least great or better off the field. Tom Brady being one.
Absolutely.
And but I think that's changing, right? I mean, I think
it is changing.
Maybe you and I changing.
Well, you got to keep up with. Sometimes you got to keep up with the Joneses and keep up with what's going on in the world. You think about really what even what the NBA has done with their dress code.
Right.
You think about Allen Iversons of the world who, we all dress, similar, baggy clothes, just real comfortable. And I think the NBA started to recognize, in order for us to be professionals and be seen in a different light off the field, we had to come to work, dressed appropriately. And you look at where the NBA is now in terms of fashion and the guys
Right.
that are fashion for you, namely Russell Westbrook, he's a guy he's a little out there, but he's been able to pull some things off. He's established and collaborated with some brands out there. Has his own clothing line. So I'm trying to do what I can do, knowing that I've established a brand as well, and understanding too that I can bring something to the market, not trying to be the Nikes, the Under Armours, or the Adidases of the world.
Right. And as soon as people hear your name, they're going to know there's some style involved.
And that's what it's all about.
Right.
I think, number one, just what I've been able to do to build my brand, establish myself. Some of those mantras, those quotes that you mentioned, get your popcorn ready. I love me some me. These are some of the things that will identify my clothing line, and we're gonna, it's gonna reflect that. It's gonna come through with my clothes.
So T.O., most guys say they miss the competition. Do you miss the fraternity?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that I'm sure if you talk to a number of guys that have played any professional sport, any team sport, that's what you miss, on a daily basis.
And by the way, unless you've been inside, and I kind of have, but unless you've really, been in the locker room, you don't have any idea what goes on in there.
No, and I think it's almost like your family, an extension of your real family. These are some of the things that you go through in a real family. You're going to have your ups and downs. You're going to have your quarrels, your agreements, disagreements. But that's what makes a family strong, the bond strong. And again, when you're able to make it to the playoffs and make it to the Super Bowl, that's what makes the Super Bowl so special. And all the hard work, pays off.
I don't recall you ever having any disagreements with anybody.
Maybe once or twice.
One or two. They were enjoyable though. So what is Prototype 81?
Prototype 81 is what I named my clothing line. I was back and forth a
Why
couple
not
of
T.O. 81?
It could be, but I wanted something that would resonate and people would really identify me with. And I will try to carefully explain that in terms of when I left college and was being recruited and scouted rather, I kept hearing, that he was prototypical. He has the attributes of some of the prototypical guys that were playing at that time that were 6'3" and above.
Right.
You talk about Jake Reed, Herman Moore, J.J. Stokes, Jerry Rice. I was looked at as a guy with potential, but not really their talent yet. So initially, I wanted to have a play on my name. I mean, I can make fun of myself. So initially, I wanted to come out with the clothing line. I wanted to name it Ego. So I tried to trademark that, and it was a lot of red tape that I had to go through. So
by the way, I have that trademark.
Oh, okay, that's why. So I started over, and I was like, man, what can I do? What can I name my clothing line where people, number one, would resonate with me? And then I started to get creative. You'll hear the creative part, as you knew during my football career with all my touchdown dances, I got creative. So I became creative with the word prototype too. You can't spell prototype, Pat, without T.O. in it. So that's a little bit of my pitch, to a lot of people that ask me how did I come up with the name. But again, prototype is something on which something is based or formed. And so for me, I feel like I was a trendsetter. There was a lot of things that I was able to do on the football field that now, kids look up to me and try to really pattern their game after. But Jerry Rice, he paved the way for a number of people, but I tried to be who I was with and sprinkle a little bit of Jerry Rice in there. So that's how prototype came to be, Prototype 81.
I'm surprised a lot more players don't do it because they have the names,
It's a lot of hard work, and with that statement that you just said, what comes to mind is to me is that you said that you wonder why a lot of players don't do it. There's a number of players that play football, basketball, whatever that sport is, but there's a lot that are good, but they don't become great because they don't apply
the difference. Yeah.
Right, they don't apply themselves. When I reflect on my career, what really embodies my clothing line, which is parallel or synonymous to what I did with my football career, I had the desire, I had the dedication, and I had the discipline.
Is it going to splash?
Absolutely, it's going to splash. And what I've learned through this process of becoming more involved with the fashion industry, knowing when there are garments out there, you know, there are a number of brands out there that have already established themselves to really, you know, find your niche. And what I've learned with everything that is out there now, the two key ingredients is really the aesthetics, which is the design, and the quality. And if you don't have those, then you'll lose your customers.
And you also have to know what you're doing. I mean, you know, you have to have some style sense.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I think that's where my team that I have with me, they're very much so surprised that I've been so very hands-on. And I understand too, if you're not hands-on, and I didn't want to be one of those athletes, and I listen and I read, you can't help not to be on the internet and run across, you know, a lot of the celebrities that really kind of just really lend their name to a product and not really be a part of it. And for me, I want to be a part of the day-to-day.
And it makes a difference. I mean, you can tell, right?
Absolutely. For me, literally, I have put my feet to the pavement, being downtown in the fashion district, going and sourcing zippers, different types of fabrics, really going to different vendors, bargaining, you know, sample yardage, trying to get the price down.
You're into this.
Yeah, so I mean, literally, I have put my foot to the pavement. And really, I think what helped me too, I know this is probably going to be kind of crazy to mention, but being on Celebrity Apprentice with Donald Trump and that platform, it allowed me a little bit more knowledge about the business, understanding that, you know, you're a project manager, you have to delegate and really assess, you know, those tasks that you've delegated. And that's the same thing that I'm doing now. I'm applying some of the things that I learned on that show to my business itself right now.
Is this going to be a natural progression for a lot of players, you know, that are stylish and that have, you know, are flamboyant on the field?
I think it is. I think you're starting to see the trend. You know, it's all about marketability. Again, for me, I'm trying to take advantage of that, understanding that I offer something to the fashion industry, considering I feel like I'm fashion forward, I'm stylish. I recognize what looks good, what doesn't look good, and really my brand is not just for men, it's for men and women. And again, I would consider myself a metrosexual being. So I understand what looking good, going out into the public, really representing yourself is all about. And so my brand will definitely reflect that. I mean, with some of the custom prints that will be out there, because when I envisioned what I did on the football field, it was custom. It's not something that's seen on an everyday basis.
You never did anything by the book on the football field.
Hey, and sometimes
except score touchdowns.
that's the only thing that needed to be by the book.
I can't wait to see what you're going to wear to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I've already been trying to, you know, come up with something creative for that day. I haven't come up with anything yet.
Just don't do the 5 buttons, please.
I don't think I'll be doing that.
I will run you down. So what kinds of clothing are we looking at here? At first, casual, right?
Right.
With vivid colors.
Right. It's going to be some vibrant colors. Again, it's going to be reflective of my career. And that's not in a negative sense. It's something that's going to be positive out there. When you talk about detail, you talk about invisible zippers, the fabrications, you talk about mesh, the nylon, the spandex. It'll be to and from the gym apparel. So there will be some active and some performance wear pieces specifically for the gym, but there will be some pieces especially for women that they can layer with certain lifestyle, leisure pieces that, you know, if they're running from the gym late and they need to go into a meeting, that they'll be appropriate, you know, for that meeting.
Have you taken a lot of meetings on this? Have you met with people that you respect in the business, the clothing business? I've
talked to a number of people, but what I'm bringing to the table is a little bit more fashion, I think more performance driven. I know a guy that was very huge in establishing in the urban market back in the day, Carl Kanai. Sure. He's done great things in the fashion industry, but what I'm offering to the market is different from what he's doing. So I'm just really just trying to find my niche, and I think I've done that, understanding what's out there in the market. So I'm literally, like I said earlier, have put my feet to the pavement. I mean, I go into stores like Fabletics, Lorna Jane. You think about Lululemon, and that's really kind of how I got my ideas, because I was going to Lululemon, liking some of their men's stuff, but I realized that their stores, Lululemon, is really catered to a lot of the females, and they only have a small section for men. So I want to try to reverse that.
Well, where do you want to be with this in 5 years?
Man, 5 years, I want to be a household name that, to the point.
You already are.
Well, football wise, but
Right.
in the fashion, in the fashion industry, I want to be someone, be a brand that when you see that logo, it doesn't necessarily have to attach my name to it. Once they see that logo, they know that that's Terrell Owens.
Now, is it Prototype 81, or is it going to be TO? Is TO going to be on there?
Prototype 81, and again, you can, obviously you can do a number of things with that logo, with the branding. You look at,
There's a TO in it.
Yeah,
like you said.
Exactly. So, you can have black label, you can have purple label, yellow label. You can have a number of things. By Terrell Owens. You can divide up the categories. Again, with the high-end suits, I mean, you can do it, name it something in particular or specific, geared toward high-end suits, as well as differentiate that from the leisure and the casual wear, and, down the line.
When are we going to get rid of this urban wear?
I think urban wear is,
the term is.
Yeah, it's
me
been
a
on the
little odd.
decline. I think we've turned the corner from that. Again, and I think when you start to think urban wear or say the word urban wear, you get into the point of, I think is where people can't really afford something. I like it.
Or it's associated with a color.
Right. And for me, I understand that everybody can't or don't have the means to afford the best of everything. And with what I'm trying to establish, it will be affordable. It's not going to be so far out overpriced that people can't afford it. So it's going to be competitive to what's out there in the market. And there are some things that, again, depending on the quality of it, is what really kind of determines the price. And again, in order for me to really kind of maintain that level of consistency with what's out there in the market, then and reach a level of success, then I have to be consistent with what's out there too.
Plus, you can be your own model.
I'm the face of this brand.
Oh, of course.
And so I've been heavily involved with every aspect of it, and modeling is one of them. A lot of people throughout my career have even asked me, why don't you model? And that's what really motivates me and inspires me to do what I'm doing, because I feel like there's so much potential that I haven't been able to tap into because I played football for so many years. And again, I made some mistakes along the way. People viewed me as being arrogant, cocky, and when I've had marketing people to try to pitch me for certain things, the response was I would tarnish their brand because of the media portrayal of.
But you got to carry those.
Oh yeah,
words.
but again, that's why I'm still I'm embodying some of those things and applying it.
T.O., I love seeing you again.
All right, absolutely, man. Thanks
Good
for
to
having
see
me.
you. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.